Good afternoon. We are now in session for our Bremerton Municipal Law Forum today. So I just want to greet each and every one of you and thank you all for being here. Briefly, we're going to have remarks by our mayor and the welcome to you, and welcoming you to the judicial branch of our government. And our mayor is the executive branch. So the courts are a part of the city government, but we're our own separate branch. And understanding later today, you're going to hear from another judge, and she's going to talk a little bit about the independence of the judiciary. What we have lined up for you today is a program that is very interactive. It should be fun, but it should also give you just the highlights of understanding how the judicial branch works and a highlight of the justice system as a whole. I'm gonna come down to you. So some of you are seated in the jury box. We also have our K-9 unit here from the Washington State Patrol. And then I introduce the mayor. We have some volunteers here from our Black Student Union today, as well as Catalyst Schools. And we also have our KidSat Health District here, some representatives from there. So feel free to grab a Robin Goodings over for you. Make sure you mingle with them and ask some questions that you may want to learn about them and the process of the things that they do with health issues, as well as our K-9 unit, who are going to do a presentation. They're going to be up first after our remarks from our mayor and the welcome from our mayor. And again, you're going to hear more about the judicial branch, and we're actually going to do role play and a little bit today. So I have with me, who's going to be working with me on that, is Tiffany Toll, one of our volunteers. She's an attorney here in Washington State, over in the Seattle area. And we also have our judge from Mason County Superior Court, Judge Ferguson Brown, who is going to be helping out today here as well. So those are just some of the volunteers that are here, and I will hear from the mayor.
Oh, thank you, Judge. Well, we thank you, Judge, for inviting me to come down and say hello. Welcome everybody to Bremerton. This is not something you'll ever really see. In fact, I can't imagine a time a mayor would ever come down and greet you in a real life setting coming into a courthouse. But we're all here to support you. I don't have a role in this. As the judge said, I'm the executive branch, and I'm just here to offer encouragement and thanks to the judge for giving you this unique viewpoint of important equal branch of our government. And so hopefully someday I can give you an overview, maybe the city council can someday also. But take advantage of this opportunity. You're going to learn something very, very important and unique today. And hopefully, just quickly, how far did you travel to come? All the way from Central KidSat, some of you? Well, yeah, welcome. Welcome. Really happy to have you here. So, and I'm Greg Wheeler, Mayor of Bremerton.
So I think we have Olympic High School represented, Central KidSat High School represented, Catalyst School represented. So we have a good part of different parts of Bremerton represented in the Central KidSat area. So yes.
All right, Central KidSat.
And Olympic College.
Olympic College is
yes.
here also, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So sounds good. Well, good. Take advantage of this wonderful opportunity. I know you will. So good to see you all.
Okay, so first up, we're going to have our presentation by our K-9 unit. So the Washington State Patrol is one of our law enforcement agencies for the entire state. Their role is unique as well. Just like the judicial branch is very unique, the Washington State Patrol is very unique in that it supports our local Bremerton Police Department, our local sheriffs, and then they govern our highways and airways. Yeah. Yes. And they'll tell you a little bit more about what they do, but they provide a very vital role to us here in Kitsap County, and I appreciate them being here, and I'll hand it over.
Hello everybody, I'm Trooper Weatherwax, Washington State Patrol. I've been with the agency 3 years now. I'm a trooper that'll be on the roads, the state routes, on State Route 3, 16, all the way in Kitsap County. In relations to the court system, anytime we arrest somebody, they'll normally have court the next day. So we do DUIs is our big focus. So if you're arrested for DUI, normally you have court the next day, unless it's the weekend. Then you sometimes have to wait unless you bail out. So don't ever drink and drive, right? A big other one, especially for the younger population, you know, we deal with people texting on their phones, always wearing their seatbelt. So that's kind of our big focus as a state patrol, as well as speed. You know, that's why your teenagers, especially, your insurance are so high, because you're the ones that are normally speeding. So if you can always at least just follow speed limits, wear seatbelts, stay off the cell phones, you know, that's kind of the main focus that we look forward to. So.
Well, I want to say good morning, for the end of the day, this afternoon. I'm Trooper Rachel Gardner. I've been a trooper with the State Patrol for 24 years. I've held lots of different roles. I've been an FOB trooper in this uniform, working different parts of the state. I've been a detective. I've served on our honor guard, and currently a canine trooper. I have an explosive canine dog, and I work primarily at the ferry terminals in Kitsap County.
I am Trooper Allie Krzyzewski. I also work at the ferries with the dog like Rachel does. Before that, I worked over in Jefferson County, so across the floating Big Canal Bridge. I worked over there for about 8 years. We're in the blue uniform before switching to the dog.
This is wash and wear, much better. So.
When the paw prints come on, yes, it's easier.
So a little bit about what Allie and I do. We both have explosive dogs. The State Patrol has explosive and narcotics dogs. Handlers with narcotic canines will be working the road, primarily stopping cars, looking for drugs that way. We, with our explosive dogs, are either at the Capitol, we have a dog at the Capitol now, and then at the ferry terminals. There's 5 that we service here on the Kitsap County side. Port Townsend, then we've got Kingston, Bainbridge Island, Bremerton, and the Southwood ferry terminal. So we cover all of those. We're there to provide security. We use our dogs to screen the vehicles before they get on, to make sure there aren't any explosive materials or anything that's getting on the boat that shouldn't be. We also do ride the boats as security. We don't bring our dogs up in the passenger area, but we ride the boats for security, and then also patrolling the terminals that we work at. If you guys have any questions as we're going along, please ask. I'll talk a little bit about how we train our dogs to find these odors, and it doesn't matter if it's a narcotic odor or an explosive odor. We train our dogs the same ways. We have a little diagram. You have to use your imagination a little bit.
Hopefully you can see it there in the back. The color's a little bit light.
So the big thing that we do, we look for when we have dogs, we look for dogs who are high energy, who have a drive to work. It's what we call a hunt drive. And then also they like to play with the toy. If they want to play with the toy, then that's how we reward our dogs. So my dog is a tennis ball. Mostly she wants to hold it in her mouth and for me to pet her and tell her she's a good girl. But some dogs like to play really rough, and Allie's dog likes to, you'll see her dog after bed, she'll flip it around and whack herself in the head with the dogs and silly. So what we do when we're training dogs to find a specific odor, and you could do this with your own dog if you want them to find a specific toy, a food, or something like that, it's really just repetition. So if you imagine this is a wooden box, they're usually about this tall, and it's got a lid that pops up on top. It's got 4 compartments that we start with, and what we do is we introduce the dog to the odor by, say the odor is in this box. Dogs naturally, when there is a hole in something, they want to stick their nose in it and smell. So it's a natural behavior for them. So they'll come along, they'll stick their nose here, they'll stick their nose here. When they put their nose in this hole the first few times, we bomb the toy in. So in their brain, oh, I smell this, shoo, my toy just appears out of nowhere. Then we play with them. And you will, when Allie brings her dog up, we sound like her too. Oh, good girl, good girl. Like really play them up. We want them to know this is what we want. So we'll do this a whole bunch of times. Just bomb that toy in, bomb that toy in. And then after, you know, we'll move it around, and so that they start to associate this odor, ooh, I get my toy, yay. So then, out in Shelton, where our academy is, we have a canine training area, and it's got 3 walls that have the same kind of system where there's holes all over the walls, and ours is really cool. You can actually walk behind it, and when the dog finds the odor, you can push the toy out through the PVC pipe. So in their brain, the toy's not coming from the handler, it's coming from the odor. And that's what we want them to stay true to the odor. So we'll start moving it around and have them do this, and it's just repetition. At a certain point, you can start to tell when the dogs are ready for what we call, we're gonna put a sit on the dog. That is, so that we have a better, we can tell from their behavior, oh, I smell this, it's here. When they sit or they lay down, it's, you know, an indication this is where the odor's at. So once that starts happening in their brain, they smell the odor, and then I sit, and then my toy appears. So again, it's just repetition. You could do this with your own dog. Really define anything. Dogs will find food, they'll find explosive odor, shed antler dogs, you name it. If they want to play with the toy especially, or you can do it with your own dog with food reward, that often works really well too. So again, if anybody has questions, please ask. I'd rather answer your questions than stand up here and talk all day to you guys.
What type of dogs do you use?
Yeah. What do you think would make a good working dog as far as looking for an odor? Yes, we have lots of German Shepherds.
Canine.
What kind of dog do you think? How about this? What do you?
Best dog is a golden retriever.
We do get lots of retrievers. What do you think would not make a good a dog searching for a specific odor? What quality? Like what wouldn't be a good dog? I don't know what a story. So if you look in the Guinness Book of World Records for the smallest police dog, her name is Midge. She is an 8-pound Chihuahua Rat Terrier mix. She only searches, I think she's retired by now. She only would search out for marijuana, but there's nothing wrong with the Chihuahua, obviously, for our work. We need a medium-sized dog because we do a lot of walking up and down. Wouldn't work for us. But I was thinking more a bulldog because their face is squished. Any of those kind of dogs. When I first started, most of the dogs that we had were German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois. You guys have seen that? Has anybody seen what was the movie? Keanu Reeves. What's that?
The Belgian Shepherd?
Yeah, the Belgian Malinois. They've been in a lot of movies. The movie Max has a Malinois. Those are the dogs that we really started with. We wanted, because they're high drive working dogs. Over time, it's shifted. We've always used labs, but because the State Patrol, all of our dogs are passive response. That means that they sit or lay down. We don't want them to scratch. We don't want them to bite. Would not be good to bite a bomb. That would be bad. We don't want that. It would not be good for a dog to scratch or bite at drugs. We've had, there was a TPD officer just a couple years ago. His dog died because he was trying to get to it, scratched meth in his face and it killed him. So those are things we don't want happen. So they're all passive response. So we've moved to more of the hunting style dogs. You'll see tons of German short hairs, German wire hairs, labs, because their instinctive drive to want to search for something is so much better than a lot of these other dogs. My lab, I think she's a failed hunting dog because she doesn't like water and doesn't like gunfire. But I'll get her toy and I'll reward her. And then if I'm standing around talking, she'll go with her ball and I'll start looking for the odor again. That is that hunt drive we want to find.
The reason I drew this is because we were talking about the dogs with squish noses like a pug. They have basically a maze in their nasal passages where the odor goes through. So when they have this longer nose, they have more space for that odor to move through the nose.
So a lot of times with dogs, if you walked into a room and there was pizza on the table, your brain would go, ooh, there's pizza, that smells good. The dog smells that, they can actually smell the ingredients, the cheese. They can smell what's in the sauce, the pepperoni. They're able to detect all these different little odors. And so it just makes them incredible at finding these odors for us. So we deploy them on the cars and we screen vehicles. So it's not really a search. We do a screen where we walk up and down. A lot of times the odor will just filter out of the cars. We find, luckily I haven't ever really found anything terrible. That's a good thing. We're a deterrent. We want to be there to make sure that people don't get on the boats with stuff. But it's legal to carry firearms on the ferry boats if you have your permit, if you do all the things that you need to do. Hunting season is a good time. Guys will come back with their hunting rifles in their bed of their truck that have been recently fired. Our dogs will find that because that's part of the odor that they're trained to look for. We don't specifically look for guns, but a recently fired gun, our dogs will find. 4th of July is a good one. All of the powder, the black powder, that's one of the odors our dogs are trained to find. So I found lots of fireworks and guns, but our dogs don't know the difference between legal and illegal. They're just happy to find something, they get their toy. It's a good day for them. So.
How do you guys train for the explosives? Cause I know our dog goes crazy with fireworks.
So you mean as far
Or
as?
not explosives, like the, never mind, I just answered my own question. Never mind.
Yeah. So the training process is all the same, as far as whatever odor it is. We have, obviously it's legal for us to have C4 and different odors that our dogs, so we use those as training aids for our dogs to find when we're training them. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah. Just because fireworks are legal, it still has the same material that our dogs are looking for. It isn't actually legal to take some fireworks on a boat, on the ferry boats. Some you can, but as I said, our dogs don't know the difference between legal and illegal. They're just happy to find the odor. Yes.
So you train your dogs to find guns and whatnot. Yet you wear one, so your dog ever get
That's a
confused?
good question. Thank you. Very good question. So our dogs aren't actually trained to find guns. When you shoot a gun, there are different odors, the powder that's in the bullet, so that all comes out. So after you've recently fired a gun, then that's something that our dogs will find. So they're not looking for the gun per se, but more of the powder. But, so I would never reward my dog, like if I had just come from the range, which happens all the time, my gun's on me and she smells it, I would push her away from that because I don't want her doing that all the time. Funny enough, the ATF dogs, who are, I think it's ATF Better Food Reward, they like to play that game because dogs are cheaters, I'll tell you that right now. And anytime you're around the ATF, their dogs will come over to you and they'll tap your gun because they're like, okay, give me my treat now, because they know. She knows that this is just normal part of my uniform, it smells like me, so I wouldn't reward her off of this. So she knows when I tell her to find it, then that's what she's gonna be deployed to go look for the odor. So that's a really good question, people, it's a good one.
What is your process, like you were saying during the 4th of July, some fireworks go on ferry, or a recently shot off gun. So when the dog does smell those things, what do you do? Do you then ask the people, or what is your process?
So talking to people, I find more out from talking to people than anything else. So if my dog is alerting to a vehicle and I think that there's something in there, I just have a conversation with the driver. Hey, have you been? And a lot of times, especially the guys that have been hunting, I can usually see hunting equipment or whatever else. Hey, where's your rifle at? And just a conversation to figure out what that is. Sometimes there are some work tools. They have CO2 cartridges. There are similar odors. So it's a process to figure out what my dog is actually keying on. But yeah, it's really just a conversation. Most everybody's happy that we're there, happy that we're doing this job. And I am sure it's a little weird, like, do you have any guns in the car? It is legal to take them on the boat. We just want to be able to reward our dogs. So yeah, lots of talking.
So your dog is yours, you take home every day?
So my dog is owned by the Washington State Patrol. I do take her home with me. Our dogs live with us, but she is not my dog. When I retire, hopefully in September next year, she will, because she'll be old enough, then I should be able to take her with me. Yeah, so I'm on my 3rd dog. My first dog, when she retired because she doesn't play well with others, and my husband was a trooper, and we have multiple dogs at our house. I actually adopted her out to another State Patrol employee. Then she unfortunately passed away, so I got her back. So now I have my 12-year-old crazy Malinois back. So yeah, we do get first right to keep them when they retire. But a lot of times they're not. If I didn't have the dog I had right now when I retired, and she's gonna be like 6.5. If she had been like my first dog, I would probably give her to somebody else because it wouldn't be fair to her to not work. But she's chill enough that she'll be able to be at home and it'll be all right. So yeah, yeah, for sure.
So then, at work, you have a certain behavior, routine.
Mm-hmm.
or what is home health like for your dog?
So, and this is gonna sound weird to a lot of people, so my dog, when she's at home, she gets to come out to go to the bathroom and eat, but she's in a kennel. Because I want her to know, when we go to work, that's where it's fun.
Okay.
Obviously that would change if she retired, she actually fits in with my other dogs, so that would be fine, but they're not pets, we don't treat them as such. That's how handlers get themselves into trouble when they treat their dogs like pets, because the fun place to be has to be at work. They have to wanna go to work.
I'm happy that you said that, because that was gonna be my next question, cause if we kennel train our dog, and people look at us like we're crazy, but it's for a reason.
Please do it.
Our dog is a Labradoodle, she would never be able to be a canine at all. She will just hug everybody. But the question is, so when we see officers out with their canine, what is appropriate behavior of us? Cause there always is the itch to wanna pet the dog.
Well, especially you'll see, Allie's gonna bring her dog in, and I have a similar lab as well. They're both super sweet, lovey-dovey dogs. So, if we're in the process of working, if you could just watch and stay out of her way, we would appreciate that. My last dog did not like other people, so it was always stressful for me to navigate people wanting to pet her, because she was very pretty, but she didn't like people. If we're just standing around, hey, could I pet your dog? I really love your dog. Absolutely. And some officers will say yes, and some will say no. Don't take it personally. It just means, like my last dog, while she looked really lovey-dovey to me, she did not love other people. So, and some handlers just don't want that interaction with their dog. I let people pet my current dog all the time, because she's just like, whatever. But yeah, if you just ask, as long as we're not in the middle of working, that's totally fine. So Allie's gonna bring her dog in. So you'll get to see the behavior that we're talking about. Behind this white piece of paper is one of our training aids. So when she comes in, if you guys, she's gonna kind of come around a little bit. If you just keep your hands in your lap while she's walking, she's gonna work her dog around this area. And then when she gets to this, when she starts to come up here, if you guys wanna stand up so you can see better, but you'll see her alert behavior. Is anyone allergic to dogs? Is that what you're, okay. I'm sorry, I was gonna ask. She's right out there to your left, I think. Okay, is anybody afraid of dogs? Okay, I promise this is like this, she's not gonna pay any attention to you, because she's coming in here, she knows she's gonna work, and she knows she's gonna find something, so she wants her toy. So she doesn't really care about you guys, but I know that some people get very nervous around dogs, and I don't wanna make you that way, so.
I have a question right now.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
This is kind of unrelated.
No, that's all right.
Oh,
Oh, they're downstairs. Yeah, for sure. Allie, take that one. Yeah. Just start your right foot. Yep. Emma. She's like, it was there last time.
Yeah. She has a pretty good
Great
memory.
memory.
And some dogs are bigger cheaters than others, I'll tell you what. My first dog was the worst. When he would do this, I could only do it once, because otherwise then she would just run past me and be like, "It's over here."
She wouldn't go through all this.
No, she's like, I didn't say that. I was like, well, it's over this one, let me go here.
I know.
So
They're focused.
Oftentimes, this has been in here for a while, oftentimes that's where odor is starting to come in.
So a lot of times when we're working inside a building, we have to really pay attention to the airflow system, because it can, even though the odor's here, the odor can pool back here, because it's getting sucked through, or if doors are open, like when we search, we like to close doors, because it keeps the odor in one place, but the air's gonna get pulled out this door. So our dogs are trained to work. So a lot of times our dogs will, what we call brackets, so if they go to this table, they would go, oh, it's here. So they will work in a set tone. We've got an aid that only comes out in a cone shape. And so the dogs will try and work that until they get to the closest source of the odor. One time we had 9 pit bulls, and I'm telling you, they are the best working dogs because they just wanna go, which is why they often end up in the pounds or too much for people. We had a lab one time that I had to think past this, his eyes were like out here. He didn't hear anything. I mean, yeah, we had lots of mutts and crossbreeds. We had one that was a half Norwegian Ridgeback in a lab, and, oftentimes this is what we want to see, and we do go through a vendor to find our dogs. They go find the dogs, but, a lot of times we find pound dogs. Over the years, because that family pound has given us quite a few dogs, just have a relationship, they kind of know what to look for. I've taken my dog there, this is what we're looking for. So when she thinks they've got a high drive dog and then they see my dog, they're like, oh, no, we don't. This is what we're looking for. So, we have a pit right now that is out of, like, that kind of town that's been working with my fingers. And they just picked up another shepherd, where did Sean get that other dog from? Yeah, this is all Evelyn, this is smack yourself in the head on their toy. And my dog, she wants to hold her ball in her mouth and be right here with her paws on me. That's all she wants, so.
Is there a preference to sex of the dog?
No, not really, not for, passive response dogs. A lot of times with the patrol dogs that are fight dogs, they tend to go for male dogs, they just tend to be a little more forward and aggressive when they want to fight the smooth, that kind of thing. But I've seen, I will tell you, my last dog probably should have been, except she was a 32 pound Malinois, but she's not working anymore. I wish that she hadn't been like that because she was a phenomenal dog, but no, we don't care.
Okay. How many false alarms have you had?
Do you mean, with the dog?
Yeah.
Do you mean, when she's sat and there isn't something?
Yeah.
That varies from dog to dog. I don't have her sit when there isn't something very often. Sometimes when we're working in the fairy lanes, because there's so many different odors, she might get really excited over something, and it's just what we call a novel odor. She hasn't smelled it before, so she'll get really excited, and to me it appears maybe she's doing some of her alert behavior. So sometimes we have that happen. That's more of a training issue, and like a lot of times we can induce our dog to sit if we're like trying to get them to search too small of an area. They'll be like, oh, well, something must be there, someone's gonna sit down. So it's usually something we're doing that's causing the dog to do that. It's just a training issue more than anything, but usually when she's doing her behavior and I think there might be something, it's because it's something she has never smelled before.
How old?
Oh, go ahead.
How old are they when they retired? You say?
It varies. So my very first work dog was 9 when she retired. She probably could have kept working for another year or two, but that's a Malinois. Don't ever get a Malinois. They're crazy. They make really great work dogs, not really good pets. Some dogs get injured. Our dogs do walk a lot. That's why we look for those medium-sized dogs. I probably walk 5 miles at the terminal every day, and then if you think about the dog doing probably twice that. They get injured sometimes, sometimes they come down with cancer, that kind of thing. Usually around 7. That's 7 to 9 is probably the age.
And you're talking like 7 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
7 years old. Sometimes they could, like, my first dog worked for 7 years. She was 2. Most of our dogs are around 1 or 2 when we first get them. We don't want them to be puppies because that's a pain. About 2 is a good age to start working them. But it varies. I would say the narcotics dogs work longer. They work longer because they don't get deployed as much as we do. Every day we're doing that, whereas they have to go stop the cars, farm them, and then deploy them.
And I was wondering, cause like when somebody fires a firearm, like there's residue on their hands afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so if the firearm isn't there, but would the dog be able to smell the residue?
Oh, they could definitely smell it. Probably wouldn't necessarily alert. And I will say that our dogs are not trained to sniff people. If that is, other than at the airport, that's not legal in the state of Washington for us to deploy our dogs on people yet. And so it's kind of funny, our dogs are used to sniffing things, and so my last dog, we were trying to do that, and that shift from sniffing boxes to people was a little bit of a leap, so they don't always, while she could definitely smell it, it might not occur to her to sniff a person because we don't do that, so. But she definitely smells it. I know she smells it on me when I come from the range, I'm covered, so. Any other questions? About anything canine, any police related, anything? No? Okay. I think that's Probably it.
We're gonna take a little bit of the intermission, and those individuals who indicated that they wanted to be the police officer, raise your hand. So you're gonna get a chance to be in the hall area with our state patrol so that they can prep you for the next phase of our program today. Okay, so thank you.
Anybody have any questions after?
I got the case. Good artwork. Okay. So I'm, the individual who, for the judge. I'm sorry. Which rope? All right. So let's see. You guys, you better be on jail. I'm not letting you I need Jada, Katie, Kenny.
Getting himself set, as you can see. So right now they're out getting their roles set. So the judge has his script. Judge Flood is talking with, not sure if this is the jury or if they are the attorneys. Outside in the hallway, you have the Washington State Patrol working on their roles as the officers. And then they'll come back in and we will have our mock trial. So definitely pretty cool exercise to see. So stay tuned.
So this is your workspace here. That's your, this is your area around here. You come around, come into a room, you start off with area and then the column up there. I'm sorry, you guys don't have shop here kind of opposite side. You're excluded at the locker. Yeah. Okay.
I know that shadow was kind of good.
Okay, so we got Donnie here who's gonna start at the locker, so you can consider this your locker area. Yeah.
We'll use all the
Whatever you do, however you wanna own it. Oh, an actual. Oh, you're picked. Okay. So you go first. You're gonna walk in and say, whenever you're ready. 1, 2, 3. They have the music right? Yes. It's 1:55. All right. Once I come to the baby, y'all. Oh, good. All right. All right, we're gonna start with our skit. Okay. We are ready to go on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Alvin. What's up? You want some more? You want some? You still have more, period. Here's those dishes, please. Okay, fine, I'll go with you. Hey, Calvin.
car today?
My mom uses her car at the shop.
I've actually got my uncle's car. He's staying over at our house. And he's got a cool ride. I was going to ask him this morning if I could use his car to go to school. But he was asleep, so I didn't. I took the keys anyways, and I'm sure he was fine.
Cool. We're going to the mall. You guys wanna come?
Can I have one too? You guys better finish that up before we get into my uncle's car.
I'm thirsty. Let's just have a drink at the corner store.
Who's Mary? It should be up in there.
I'm thirsty. Let's just have a drink at the corner store.
Okay. Hey, there's your brother Barry. Can we go, can we get him to buy us some good stuff?
Sure. Hey, John, go over here.
What's up? How did you get Uncle Joe to let you borrow his car?
He's still asleep. I just took the keys. I figured he wouldn't mind. Can you do us a favor and buy us a couple of quarters?
Aren't you guys underage?
Yeah, that's fine. Don't worry. We won't do anything stupid.
Okay, fine. Just get in trouble. Don't get in trouble. Here you go. You guys can share.
Cool. Thanks.
Are you gonna get cigarettes when you're not, 18 years old?
I get in here all the time.
How?
People are. Every time you have a cigarette, you have ID. Yeah, come on, I'm walking here all the time. Okay.
You're crazy. Is everyone ready to go to the mall?
Yes. Calvin, pass me the 40. I want to see what kind we got.
Hey, watch it. There's a cop behind us.
Don't worry, you didn't see us.
Great, the sirens are on. Okay. Okay, hide it. Hide it!
I see your license.
Sure.
You know this license is expired.
Oh, well, I didn't know.
Can you really step out of the car? Whose alcohol is this? Where did you guys get all this food? Are you aware this car was stolen? You have any idea how much trouble you are in?
Thank you. The actors set the foundation for what is about to take place next. Now, we have our prosecuting attorney. Who's our prosecutor? And our public defender. Okay. Okay. So the prosecutors on this side, public defenders on this side. And then the client is, Barry. Come on up. Prosecutor and our defense, and we have helpers, who's helping the defense attorney, and who's helping the prosecutor. Today's case is City of Bremerton versus Barry White. I know. You know it's on the adult side. And the adult said Barry White. All right. And the judge presiding is Judge Stringer. Oh, that's okay. All right.
I'm right here.
So, I need any other individuals interested in being jurors?
No.
We have two more.
We need two more jurors.
We have adults. Who wants to volunteer?
You might be called.
Oh.
We need one more.
Judge Stringer needs.
They want
All right.
They want me?
Let's see. And
Let's go.
and
Roll, we can talk
say
about
all
it.
rise.
All right.
Court is now in session. Okay, Judge Stringer is coming in. You get to sit in my nice cushiony seat there. Now say you may be seated. You may be seated. Court is now in session. Again, City of Bremerton versus Barry White. And the first question would be, are there any motions from the prosecution?
Are there any motions from the prosecution?
Am I just reading the?
You can say no, you're
Oh,
not.
okay, no, sorry.
Is there any motions from the defense?
Are there any motions from the defense?
No, Your Honor. Are you ready to proceed to trial?
Are you ready to proceed to trial?
Yes. Yes.
Defense? Are we ready to proceed to trial?
Are you ready to proceed to trial?
Yes, Your Honor. And prosecution, you may call your first witness, which will be the officer.
Okay, can we get the officer up here?
Police Officer Tess, come forward. Which one is helping? Bring your officer with you. Bring your state trooper out here. Okay. Yes. Yes, you're on the stand. You raise your right hand. Yes. You're gonna be sworn in at the.
Right hand.
Right hand. Swear in. Then, see. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you?
Do you say the truth? Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God?
Okay. Okay. So, as your witness, prosecution.
Can I start off by asking your name?
My name is Tess.
And how many years were you employed as your position?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, and say the day is November 10th. What were you doing? Can you just like start your day maybe briefly between when you found them?
I was just driving, making sure everybody was doing what they were supposed to when driving. And
Beforehand, can I actually ask you your job, like where you work and what position you were in?
I'm Bremerton Police Department. I'm an officer.
All right, and then if you want, you can proceed with your day.
I was just, and then I saw these kids speeding, a bunch of kids speeding. They're going 20 over.
Okay, and then when you caught them speeding 21 over, how did you approach the situation?
My sirens, pulled them over, and then went to the car and asked for their license.
Okay, and then did you smell anything? Was like
Objection. I wasn't sure if you wanted us to be objective.
Objection. Leading the witness. Objection, leading the witness.
Okay, into the role.
rephrase it, please? Rephrase your question.
Is there a way I could just like not use that question?
Retract.
Could I just strike the question, Your Honor?
You may.
When you pulled over the vehicle, who did you pull over? Who did you find in the car?
I pulled over a kid named Barry.
Did Barry have ID on him?
Yes, he did.
Was there anyone else in the car?
There was 4 people in the car.
Did they have ID on them?
No, they were minors. But the driver's license was expired. The driver's.
Object. How do you know that they were minors? Objection, leading, not right.
Guilty as charged.
Please rephrase your question.
What is it?
Please wait for a question. Clarify, please.
Okay. Could I ask who the car belonged to when you pulled them over?
It belonged to the car was reported stolen.
Was that reported by?
Reported by the Bremerton Police Department and the records.
What time was it reported stolen?
A week ago.
So what things did you find in the car when you asked them to?
I found alcohol and a lot of food.
Okay. So what did you do after you pulled them over and checked for ID?
I asked them all to get out of the car and check the car and found alcohol and food.
Okay.
Sorry for what? I couldn't hear. Can you speak up a little?
Yeah. After I checked the license, I asked them all to get out of the car and check the car and found the alcohol and the food.
Did you know who the alcohol belonged to?
No, I did not.
Was there a receipt or was it prepackaged?
Yes, it was in a brown paper bag.
She's
Anything further from the prosecution?
Objection, bleeding.
Yeah.
Bro, she just messed up the entire case. My sister demon.
Can I be first?
I request to have the jury ignore that comment.
Please strike that from records. Jury, please do not consider that last comment.
I already forgot it.
And prosecutors, be very careful with your questions, please.
Yeah. Did the food have a receipt with it?
No, it did not.
And those were the only items found in the car.
Yes.
I think that concludes my questions.
I'll hear from the defense.
Yes.
She's like, yes, I'm ready.
Miss Officer, may I try that? Miss Officer?
You are ready?
Were you stationed or were you driving when you decided to pull over my defendant?
I was just driving around patrolling.
And can you tell me what exactly speed limit they were going than versus what it was posted?
They were going 55 on 35, Kids Up Way.
Okay, and exactly how did you measure that if you were driving?
My radar. The radar has a moving mode and a stationary mode.
Could you say that a little bit louder? We can't hear you. We really can't hear you.
My radar has a moving mode and a stationary mode.
Can you describe the time of day and how it was looking with the stuff? Was it raining, sunny? Did you see visually?
It was very sunny, a little bit cloudy. It was, it was, 3:30 p.m. It was 12:30, sorry.
You sure? So you said that they were speeding and that you pulled them over. Can you describe what made you need to see their license?
Well, every time I pull over a car, I have to check their license and registration.
Do you usually search cars for people who have an expired license? Were you given permission by the defendant to search the car?
No.
Did you warrant to search? You said that. Well, let me ask. For the need to search, what was your exact reason? Do you have any reasoning behind so to actually search the vehicle?
So we asked them to step out of the vehicle and we saw the alcohol bottle in plain view.
Right, but, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you not testify that it was packaged in a brown bag to the prosecutor?
So we clearly saw the alcohol bottle inside the brown bag on the floorboard from the outside.
I would just note that the suspect is changing their testimony.
The officer.
Yeah, the officer.
It was in the brown bag, but you could still clearly see the bottle coming out.
I'm just clarifying. Could you clearly see it?
It was like dipped over. It was like halfway in the bag, so you could see it coming out.
Who exactly does the car belong to?
One of the kids' uncle reported stolen.
It was one of the kids' uncles. It was like reported stolen.
One of the kids, was it my defendant's uncle in particular, or do you know?
Oh, Barry.
It was Barry's uncle.
And you said that it was reported a week ago stolen, right?
Yes.
But my defendant says that she only took it just that day. Or not at all.
Damn. Bro, what's going on with the prosecutors?
I meant to have the jury ignore that. Can you tell me who was in the passenger seat?
Alvin was in the passenger seat.
Alright. And exactly where was the alcohol when you saw it? Was it in the front, the back?
It was
Plain view in the back seat.
it was plain view in the back seat.
Back seat. So would you say that possibly one of the other people who my client was with might have had the alcohol in possession and not my actual client?
Possible, I can't say. Speculation.
It's possible. I can't say.
Possible. Just real quick, you said there was no receipt for the food?
Yes, I did.
Is it possible that you might have thrown out the receipt? I mean, I know I do.
It's possible.
Defense, quit testifying, please.
Were any of the passengers drunk or under the influence? I mean, did you conduct a sobriety test?
Objection, the judge can't be helping.
Based on our training and experience, we smelt it, we saw the signs of intoxicants, so, based on our training experience, we feel like the driver was under the influence of a drug and or intoxicant.
But there was no test done, so how would you have known?
He was a minor, so we can't do fields on a minor. We have to notify their parents, have them call youth council, and go from there.
Sure, that's fine. Specialty court. They got you there.
Bro, where are we hard? Is she ready to do something?
Public defender, I guess.
Yeah. My bad.
Can I please have closing remarks from the prosecutors and defendants? Prosecutors.
Alright, as heard in the police officer's attorney, the police officer's attorney, they were speeding. Testimony. The teens were speeding, or Barry was speeding, 21 over. They were pulled over, and as a regular test that they would do, checked the license and it was expired. Then to find a brown bag with a alcohol bottle peeping through or shown. They did probably probable cause to check for any physical attributes of intoxication. They couldn't do a test due to age. So they have a minor in possession of alcohol, and due to the food without any receipt, we have a possession of stolen property. And when the car was run, it was reported stolen a week ago by the uncle, and also tested with driving with a suspended license
And defense?
during school hours.
Thank you. Defense?
The jury, Your Honor, whomever. The prosecution, jurors, prosecutioners, have not done anything to prove that my client is guilty. They had no warrant, nor much of a reason to search my client and the vehicle. The possessions that they claim stolen, there was no receipts, so there's really no way to tell. They did not do a sobriety test to prove that they were actually underneath the intoxication, even though they could have gotten parent permission. The reason for stopping the car was speeding, and the reason for searching was an expired license, which, if I may, seems very rude. Push it a little, I don't know. And the illegal substances, there is no way to tell whose they were. Therefore, I would like to plead that my client is not guilty and move to have this case dismissed.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury,
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury,
you have been given your instructions,
you have been given your instruction,
and now it's time for you to deliberate.
and it's now time for you to deliberate.
Please exit and find your deliberations and return after electing your.
Please exit and do further deliberation and
Elect the chair.
elect the chairman.
To bring back
to bring back the verdict, please.
Low-key, us. Me.
What will be a short recess during these deliberations?
Or it will be a recess.
You were able to feel the pressure, right?
I was getting nervous.
So that is what it's like all the time, right?
Asking
Now,
questions.
when the officer said we have to call your parents, we just talked about that recently, about knowing your rights as a minor. Call your parents. Anytime anything happens, call your parents. So don't ever feel like you're being disrespectful to say, can we please call my parents?
Once they call it, oh, did you, I think do I make changes? Oh my God, no. Wait, actually, can we bring it back? I hope they really think about the points, like, guys, like, license.
So the,
No.
So and also, this is not considered a criminal case, right? This is a juvenile case.
still
Is it
criminal per se, but it's just that it's dealt with differently. Yeah. 'Cause
Oh, because it's juvenile.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So juvenile, they have different terminologies for everything, but it's still a criminal prosecution.
That's why I was confused. I used to work for a courthouse and I'm like, it's a little bit different. I never did a juvenile case.
And the juvenile
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I have faith that they will.
Everything's
How do you feel?
I feel good.
Did you do the little?
So let me see.
Did you do the little hammer? Huh?
Having those leading questions.
Hey, I'm just trying to get what the people want to know, and the people need. And I thought she did say weed, so that's why I asked that question. But in my head, like as I just.
I need to check your credentials.
What?
You got some keys. I need to see your credentials.
Hey, I am qualified to be here. I've been studying for 45 minutes.
Prosecutors. Used to run files for all of the judges. I saw my referral letter from there.
Okay, I don't even. This is bad. I didn't try to sell you guys. I was getting ahead of myself. Like I was just ready to go. I started smelling weed and I was like, okay, let's go.
I worked at the courthouse. I worked at the unemployment office.
You lucky. I think they're gonna realize and they're gonna be like, damn, license, no warrant, smelling like weed, doesn't know.
I know.
Yeah, but they still did it like, and they were driving. But they don't know who it was.
Oh my Chris, who's
Well, hey, you could smell it though. You can smell it. This smells like weed. Wait, you smell like weed.
I
Can't you be like an accomplice for like years and years? How was there? Hey! But let's talk about while they're doing it during school hours. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Get that education. Because what are you doing during school? Come on. Get that education. Come on, Barry. Do better.
I wonder if there's like some brands.
I agree with you that get your education first, and then you can do your little. Never.
I wonder if it had to be federal because I wanted to be able to go to the commissary. It was because if I worked as a cashier, that's private. The treasurer, they're, government.
It's a lot more like, I guess.
Yeah, all the information I know.
Like, I get to like see like actually like what happens or like it's like it's different on the TV show and then like live TV shows like more it's like calm and like more collected, but like this you get like I guess since it's like it's our first time we got all like nervous and stuff. So it's like cool to see how we get nervous and then like on TV shows you're like all like calm and collected and stuff.
It does.
Definitely different.
Yeah, it makes you feel what it feels like to have to be up there, right? Because knowing that, oh wait, they're listening. I have to be listening to what they're saying, so I can say, oh yeah, wait, but we shouldn't have said that. Or, so the order or the, I'm gonna sustain that objection. It's like that.
So that was when they were starting to transfer.
You have to really pay attention, a lot of attention. You have to. And you're paying attention not just to them, but the audience, the jury. So that's a lot of things as a judge.
When I came to.
So can the judge like, if there's like, say the, I don't know, like the suspected person is like acting out or something, could that affect like the jury's decision? Like, I don't know, so if they're being disrespectful, the jury or like cause a scene, and the jury like add more years?
No, because, so when the jury comes back, they're just gonna say whether or not they're not gonna sentence. So when they come back,
Wait, do I stay right here? I'm just gonna sit where I was sitting.
Jury's coming back in. Jury's coming back in.
Wait, I get to go on the mic?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Jury duty?
Say hi. Senior or junior? Oh no, I'm a teacher.
Okay.
Thanks. I'm 32. Do you get that? I get that people think I'm in my 20s still, but.
Be nice if they're guilty. Give them a year. They have time.
I'm 45. Early.
Hey, you don't have to get mad at me. You gotta get mad at Trevor.
Get mad at Barry, actually. Barry's the reason why we're here right now. Barry's the reason why we're working overtime. Hey.
Okay.
All right. I'll be
No.
I'm gonna come back with some more.
Yeah, she'll be back. Just different sizes.
Has the jury come to a decision?
Wait, it's right here. Yes, Your Honor.
Please state.
Please rise and state your name as the chair.
Please state your deliberation.
Oh. Do I say my name? My
Chairman, say your first name.
Chairman Gabrielle. We say that the defendant guilty on the count of driving with a suspended license.
Objection.
Oh. And now guilty. Roll my back hurt.
Yeah, Stringer.
And not guilty for the field, everything else?
Yeah.
Okay.
not guilty on everything else. I'm not gonna say all that. I wouldn't do that. Bro, how you about to drive with a suspension?
Okay,
Yeah,
so.
You've been nice.
Okay, 2 more shirts. Okay, I got it covered. All right, so we're gonna take a little break. Thank you to the jury.
Thank you to the jury.
Your job is done, and thank you for your service. Say that.
Oh, thank you for your service.
Now, we're gonna have Judge Sharonda Amamilo come up and speak to us for closing remarks on the independence of the judiciary. Okay. All right.
Hey, congratulations on the other show. I didn't know what to call them. I was about to say quarantine.
In the middle? Okay. Went to law school with her. Judge Flood is a very, very dear friend of mine. I have several judge friends in here, and this is pretty awesome. I'm already excited. I hope I don't get stage fright. So I was thinking about how I was going to present the independence of the jury discussion to a group of young folks who may or may not know anything about what it means to be a judge. But first and foremost, I think the most important thing for you to know is how does a case get before a judge in the first place, right? And so when we talk about independence of the judiciary, we have to talk about all the elements of the law and justice system, right? In a case where Mr. Barry White was arrested or stopped by, engaged with law enforcement. Before he got here, he had to engage with law enforcement. Law enforcement had to make a decision about whether or not he was to be charged, whether or not he's going to just get a warning, whether or not he's going to be taken into custody. They're going to make a lot of decisions. After they make a decision, if the decision is to refer to the prosecutor, then the prosecutor is going to make a decision about whether or not law enforcement was right in the first place, and they will decide whether or not they are actually going to press charges, right? And then once they decide to press charges, and that's the part where we get to whether or not a judge is going to be involved. Now, with a caveat, I say that because I had a duty phone last week, and there were a couple of calls at 3 o'clock in the morning where I had to give law enforcement the authority to arrest, because there are some statutes where they have to have permission to arrest on the spot, and some things that are mandatory. So it's not always those processes, but we prefer not to be awakened at 1, 2, and 3 o'clock in the morning. But after prosecution has made its decision, then the individual, the terminology is changing, so we try to refer to folks involved in the system to the extent most possible as individuals and not defendants, and try to lend some respect to the part of the process that we now understand that everybody involved in the law and justice system is dealing with some sort of trauma just from the shock of being involved in if you've never had any other type of trauma before. So I digress, but I get back because I never lose track. Okay? So once the prosecution makes a decision, then there's going to be a preliminary hearing, and then the judge is going to make a decision about whether or not this person should be released into the community on their own personal recognizance, meaning that I'm going to be able to trust them to not engage in any activities that might increase threats to the community, or they are reliable and they're going to come back to court like I tell them to, because they're going to have future court dates, right? So there's a lot of steps, as you can see, in between before it gets to the judicial officer. Judicial officers have certain types of rules they have to follow. Specific shalls, must, y'all know the meanings of the words, right? And then there's discretion, right? Judges get to decide within a range of reasonableness those things that are important to this individual, and in the case of if the victim is involved, this victim, based on this set of facts and circumstances. And the importance of the judiciary as an independent player in this process is that, one, as you can see in this trial process that you just did, judge plays the role of referee, right? Making sure everybody plays fair. You're not going to get the upper hand. You're not going to get the upper hand not unfairly. If your web evidence of one or the other outweighs the other, then hey, you win, right? But if not, then you don't. But the judge's role is really play referee and make sure everybody's playing fairly and the proper evidence that's relevant to the, whether or not all the elements are met are, proven beyond a reasonable doubt in a criminal trial, but in a civil trial it's by a preponderance of the evidence. So some different standards too, and I don't know if you all talked about that, but there are some different standards. Either way, the judge's role at trial is to make sure the evidence that comes in is, and the processes are fair to everyone to be able to put on their proper case. At sentencing though, what would happen next after the judge, the jury makes its decision, Mr. Brown was found guilty, or white. Was Mr. Brown, James Brown very white. Crooners, my goodness. But after the trial is over, then it's a matter of sentencing, like what's going to be the proper sentencing. Prosecution makes a recommendation, defense makes a recommendation. Sometimes they make a joint recommendation, but just know that no matter what their recommendation is, joint, agreed, stipulated, or otherwise, the judge has full discretion to sentence within the range of what's allowable under the law for the charge based on the criminal history and whatnot of Mr. White. So, as you can see again, it's all going to come down to how does this judge deal with this individual based on this set of facts and circumstances so that this person can see that it is in their best interest not to do that again, right? And we can feel comfortable that law enforcement, prosecution, and law enforcement, all of them are going to feel comfortable that this person is not going to recidivate and in this case, driving while license suspended, right? Driving while license suspended, maybe it's because we're drinking and driving and something like that. They just want him to be safely on the road, right? They don't want him to recidivate, do it again, don't do it again, you know? So they just basically want him to be safe on the road. So when I'm sentencing, it's very important that I connect to Mr. White. That he and I, it's like, maybe I know one of his songs is my favorite that would be appropriate to say of course. Not all of them are. But maybe I can connect in some kind of way so that when I pass sentence, it will make sense to him. It's something that he can do. It's not insurmountable. It doesn't seem unfair in terms of what the crime was. The punishment fits the crime, right? And then he walks out of the court and says, you know what? That was a fair process. That was a fair judge, and I think I can be successful with that sentence. So there's a lot of, and you all might be immune, not necessarily immune, but still inoculated a little bit because you're fairly young, but you're involved in an NAACP sponsored event, so you might not be as naive. I mean, when I say naive, I don't mean that disparagingly at all, but as you know, there's a lot of political stuff in the air that people get concerned about whether or not that affects a judge's independence in the courtroom, and rightfully so. You should be concerned about that. You should be vigilant. You should be, if you have a family member, you should question. It's okay. You should question whether or not, this particular judge is, swaying one left to or right as it relates to any particular political thing that's got everybody's up in arms on any given day. It seems like it's kind of crazy. But we as judges are trained to keep ourselves independent and separate from having too much of one side or the other. Now, you're not always successful in inoculating yourself, right? But one of the things we do when there's a trial or there's sentencing and there's a type of, heinous crime, and sometimes we get news media in our courtrooms, right? And as you can imagine, high-profile cases like the George Floyd cases, you all know. And then in Washington, when all of that was happening, there was a breach of the governor's mansion. And so when those defendants came to court, the courtroom was full. I'm sitting up there on the bench knowing that, all of this is on at least Washington television and to some degree on the nation's TV. King 5 over there in the corner, and I'm going, okay, I can't mess this up, right? But it was important for me to look at those individuals and say, this is the law, this is where you broke it, and these are your conditions of release, and that's based on what I feel is appropriate under the criminal rules, and we have a set of criminal rules. Criminal rule 3.2 is the conditions of release, the things you have to consider as to whether or not a person is going to be dependable to come to court when we tell them to. They don't have a history of failure to appear and other crimes, or they don't have a violent history, or there's things we take into consideration, right? And we can do full detention, right? Or we can do some less restrictive alternatives to include all the way up to release on personal recognizance without conditions. Sometimes they get ankle monitors, right? That kind of restrict their geographic location. They can go to work, they can go to school, and they can go home. Sometimes, if they're repeat DUIs, they're going to get an ankle monitor that monitors the amount of substances in your bloodstream. So there's lots of reasons why a judicial officer needs to be independent and not feel pressure from law enforcement. Law enforcement doesn't try to put pressure on judges, not that I've experienced too much. But from time to time, you'll hear people say things that will give you that impression. Prosecution is not supposed to have an undue influence on judges, and judges shouldn't feel that they have to kind of like defer to what prosecution recommends, because that takes away from your job to keep things fair and equitable, right? We all have been talking, I don't know if you all have been talking about it or not, but the disparate representation of the BIPOC community involved in the law and justice system, especially in the criminal justice system. These are all things that, as to why it's important that a judicial officer is not impacted at all by things that are not related to objectively weighing the information in front of them and treating fairly every single individual in front of them. And I'm committed to that. Judge Flood and I, like I said, we went to law school together. I know she's committed to that. It's amazing that we're judges together, so I just met Judge Ferguson Brown over there. And it's just, we have stories that our life informed us about what it means when a person is in front of you and the things we have to consider. And just real quickly, as I wrap up, because she's inching closer and that tells me I'm running out of time. But my background is I'm a 25-year Army veteran. I retired this past February out of the Army Reserves, but I've also about on my 18th, 19th year as an attorney, and I was a child welfare foster care attorney, and I really understand that if you can help the family stabilize, you can help kids stabilize. I was also a juvenile defense attorney as well, and supervising all of that work. If you can help folks stabilize in their family and in their adolescence, and I won't have to recuse myself from so many cases when now that I'm in the adult felony level, because they won't be coming up the pipeline, and I've seen them come up the pipeline. So that concludes. I hope you have some ideas. She can give you my contact information. I'm happy to answer questions at any time, but that concludes my brief presentation. If there's anything else, just let me know. Okay, so how does everybody feel about today? Good. Did you enjoy yourself? Did you learn anything? That's what matters, is that you had fun and you learned something. But not only that, is you're getting an opportunity to look at the justice system from the perspective of you being here and your role playing and understanding how the different parts work, how law enforcement works, how the prosecutors work, how the defense works, how the judicial officers work, and then even understanding how the officers work in the field. It's important for you to know your role. And I know that you're learning it. We kids at BSU. Thank you for being here. We're going to take a group photo because y'all got to get your ball, get back on the bus, in the cars, in the transportation to get you back to the school, to get you home. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do a group picture here.
So let's everyone gather for group picture, and then as soon as we're done, you guys still have that in the other room. You want to grab your stuff. Do not head downstairs. You're going to check in with your advisor so that you can make sure you leave together. And then remember I said for tomorrow, the event for tomorrow, I will send the flyers to your phones, but it's on the Kids at BSU website already. And everybody is welcome to come.
what's her name right here? Juror number one, come on in. Squeeze over there, juror number one. There you go. There you go. Squeeze in. All right. All right. Squeeze in. All right. Come on.
I'm judge.
Okay, now I'm gonna wait. Hold on. Tell the state patrol, come on in here. Come on, squeeze on right here. Don't be trying to hide. Come on right here. Come on. Where are we at? Come on, we gotta get going for you here. Go for state patrol. Come on in. Come on in. Come on. Y'all get on down front there. Go right there. Go right front there. Put you on the end here. Yeah, put me on the end. Put you on the end now. Put you on the end. All right, you go right there. Okay, I'm gonna go behind you. Okay, now I'm gonna come up here. I'm gonna come up here. All right, okay. Okay, here I go. Okay. All right, I'm gonna come up here.
Okay, there you go.
All right, 1, 2, 3, are we ready? All right, did we get it? Okay, don't move. 1, 2, 3, smile.
Alright, now strike a pose, funny pose. Oh,
This shirt is so cool. I'm about to be wearing this on Monday. Hell yeah.
Okay, so we only have a few minutes. You gotta go get your stuff out of the other room. And then you gotta meet with your advisor.
Thank you, Miss Drew.
Do not head downstairs.
Whenever you get some oh.
Thank you so much. All right. And you can grab stuff.
All right, I'm glad I got to see you as always.
Yes,
Absolutely. Y'all let's do a good job.
And I will make an appointment to come to the court.
Yes. Whenever you want, let me know.
All right, here you go.
I'll roll out the red carpet for you.
All right. Thank you. Take a tablet.
Thank you.
All right, let the kids on the bus. Thank you so much.